computer. Good evening, and welcome to Conversations with Entrepreneurs. We have a great lineup for you tonight. We have our panel of entrepreneurs ready to inspire and motivate you. So I am your host, Alethea Brown, of course, with Mahogany Productions. And our panel, let's start with you today, Jeff. Jeff is one of our co-hosts. Hey, Jeff.
Good evening, everyone. Happy to see everybody.
And Jeff is with Jeff White Fitness Solutions, and he's also has other programs with his Yes, We Did with Black History and entrepreneurial workshops and webinars for children. So Jeff has a lot going on with him. Going to say good evening. Hey, Chanel.
Hey. How's everybody doing?
And Chanel's with Moonglade Travel. She has a boutique type traveling agency, luxury travel. So you definitely want to try to look up her website and more information on her. Hey, Julie. Well, yeah, Julie.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Julie Logan, CEO of J. Logan Business Support Services, your virtual assistant company.
And Dion Jones.
Julie, you sounded like a commercial. Like it was perfect. That was like the most perfect pitch.
I was just waiting for her to put the can up. She's going to have the can up.
I need a soda, right? And popcorn, right. I'm Dion Jones with Abe Lever, y'all, and thank you all so much for tuning in to us continually. I'm sure you're going to enjoy the show tonight.
So it's great to see you guys back, and we're ready for our season 3 of the new year. So before we get started, one of the things that's been consistent throughout our shows is we always try to acknowledge what the month is. So January, even though we're at the end of January now, is National Blood Donor Month. And so we know right now that's kind of important. So if you're doing it, I know there's safety precautions. Jeff, I believe you gave blood about a month or so ago, because that's something you're heavily into. So we just want to make people aware that this is National Blood Donor Month. If you feel comfortable with it, with all the urgencies that we have in our healthcare system right now, people will definitely be looking forward to people participating. So tonight, our topic of conversation will be with our special guest, Joshua, and make sure I say your last name right, Proby.
Yep, you said it right.
Great. So welcome to the show, Josh.
Thank you so much. Thank y'all for having me. Thank y'all.
Okay, so Joshua, can you give us a little information? Can you share some information about yourself and your organization, Peace for Poverty?
I'm Joshua Proby. I have served 12 years in prison, and Peace for Poverty actually came while I was incarcerated. It came from the thought process of peace and, of course, poverty. So long in my life before I ever was in, physical poverty. Was in poverty. Poverty is defined as a lack of. You lack some. So I lacked so many different things from a mental standpoint and emotional standpoint. So I knew that there was a way to have peace to these things. I wanted to be able to come up with something, not necessarily a direct approach to after effect of poverty, which is what you see physically from the living conditions and things of that nature, but what creates it, lack of within that creates it to start. So I came up with Peace for Poverty, and we are focusing around entrepreneurship and being able to provide opportunities for those lack areas that we generate within communities, underserved communities, and so forth. And when we deal with entrepreneurship, we're not just dealing with the money aspect of it. We're dealing with mental health, we're dealing with character building, we're dealing with creating and helping build your credit, establish your business, and business funding. So this entrepreneur approach is a collective approach that we want to be able to keep people under one roof, get all the things in which that they need. So we're not outsourcing or saying, hey, we can help you with.
I think his system froze up. I'll give him a second. Let's see if we
at
can-
the poverty that we exist within first, so that we then can turn our natural situations, dreams, goals, and ambitions that we've always
So thanks, so could you give us some information? I know when you and I initially spoke, I know your organization isn't the only thing that's making you an entrepreneur. And so you have another different business. And if I remember correctly, you have other people who want to be entrepreneurs and they kind of work with you in that process. Could you tell us some more about that?
Yes, I have a trucking company, JJ Transportation Group. While I was incarcerated, most of the individuals who are incarcerated wanted to be able to drive trucks. You know, they wanted to be able to do it. So when I got out, sometimes entrepreneurship is not so much about you. It ends up being about you and providing for your family, but initially it's always, hey, how can I help other people? So it was my goal to be able to make sure that when those guys came out, they had somewhere to go for that opportunity, somewhere to go to be able to do it. So JJ Transportation Group is contracts with Amazon currently, as well as Ashley Furniture and Lowe's, and have 16 guys that who were formerly incarcerated work for JJ Transportation Group. I've been out of prison for maybe, matter of fact, May 27th will be 3 years.
Oh,
I did 12, and it's just a blessing to be able to reach back and help and actually add to the solution. I'm not big on numbers. I'm not big on systematic programs because I was in it for so long, and I see what happens. You know, program after program after program, guys get in them. They're always outsourced to somebody else who may not have the same passion with who they started with. It doesn't mean that the initiative and the goals of those other programs are not there. It's just they don't have the passion that when it started. As it keeps going, it keeps getting less and less and less. As it continues to keep going, they end up coming back to ground one, only to have to go back through that whole cycle again. So it's a cycle that never ends to a solution, if that makes sense. So I speak to the solution of things. My business is all about bringing the solution to it. Hey, bro, you need a job. I'm not going to tell you where you need to go to get better. I'm going to give you the job. And we're going to work through those other processes in the process, because I know that poverty, it starts within, and that's what I want to focus on.
yeah, that is awesome. Jeff, you have any questions for Joshua?
I guess a question and a comment. I'm big on entrepreneurship too, and I think that's one of the biggest things that's missing in our communities. I'm from the South. I'm from Chicago, South Side Chicago, and I think that's a huge problem with some of the youth. They don't have an outlet. They don't have much to do. So I'm curious about what your opinion is on entrepreneurship, especially coming out of prison, because I imagine it was hard for you to get a job, or I know it's hard for a lot of people coming out of jail to get a job. So how do you feel about entrepreneurship and how it can affect our community and the importance of it?
I'm glad you asked that question, Jeff. Man, entrepreneurship is the key. It is the key for our communities, man. It is so vital. Coming home, I can't necessarily say I had the huge struggles that a lot of individuals come home had, because I use my time a little bit differently. It was more like a
The system freezed up again.
there. So let me make an adjustment. So I went to school my whole time. I did 2 years in solitary confinement. In those 2 years, I went to school. It was the only way that I could honestly keep my mental sanity. So while I was in there and I came out of there, I went to school for welding. When I came home, the trade of welding is what allowed me to keep a job, because welders is a high demand for that trade. It's also a great paying trade, and they're not too necessarily worried about your background. They just want to make sure you can put this metal with this metal, because you ain't going in nobody's house or nothing like that. You're going to be at the top of this roof, and as long as you put these metals together, hey, we'll give you $26 an hour. I'm like, hey, that makes sense to me. So I think entrepreneurship is key, but I think it's even more key for individuals to understand that leading to entrepreneurship, there has to be some type of trade that you into that can help you in the process of you establishing your entrepreneurship or your goals and things. Because for me, that's what I did. Coming home, I had a trade, and after my trade, I went straight into what I know.
See, I think it's important to have a skill. You hit the nail on the head. You got to have a skill. Yeah, you can want to be an entrepreneur, but what are you good at? You know, you gotta have some type of skill. You gotta do your homework because it doesn't happen just overnight. So yeah, I agree. I think that's the missing link because our schools don't talk about getting skills, having a trade. They just talk about go to school, get you some good grades, and hope and pray for that good job. Well, unfortunately, there's not a lot of good jobs out there, and a lot of those jobs they may not want you because of your past. So then what do you do? If you got that skill, like I don't have that skill, so I'm going to pay someone to do it. I don't care what you did in the past. Can you fix my thing right now?
Right.
If you can do that, then hey, we good. But see,
Yeah.
that's the missing link, and people don't understand. If you got a skill, people will work with you, which is very important. Very important. Good point.
I agree, Jeff. Chanel, you got any questions for Joshua?
One, just kudos. I mean, your story was just so inspirational. I think we just start with that. You just kind of inspired me just by sharing your story. So one, hats off to you for, what you've overcome in the lives that you're touching right now due to your journey through just life, never mind entrepreneurship. But I love the holistic approach. Like you said, it's not just entrepreneurship. It's really just addressing all of the things that we face. And we've talked about this on the show. Entrepreneurship comes with many challenges and many rewards, but those challenges, and you throw in those other curveballs of life, such as poverty and incarceration and all those other things, it just makes it extremely challenging. So to see that you have overcome those and are extremely successful and are also blessing the lives of others is just commendable, I would say. One thing that, and I don't know if it's necessarily a question, but what are some of the things or ways that you inspire the folks that come through any of your programs or your organizations to be an entrepreneur?
I think one of the main thing is, of course, I always start at the bottom. I never start at the top of the ladder of this is where I'm at. And I always start with the struggle and the hardships. I was molested when I was young. So that was the key point for me. That was the point for me that changed my whole life. Something was taken from me. And as I grew older, I don't know how to process this emotionally. I don't know how to say this. So as I get older, I get angry, I get bitter, I get frustrated because as a male, I'm battling a reality in my mind, all while trying to live up to the reality of what life says I'm supposed to be. So before I knew how to feel, I already felt robbed. So that's why I started robbing people. That's why I took from you and didn't have a care for it. Because people like, how could he do something like that? Because that's all anybody ever did to me was take. He took from me. And as a male, they were irrational cries for help. They were cries for help. Because I don't know how to do it effectively. I don't know how to say, help me because this is what happened. Whole family, from my grandmother to my mother, we all have experienced so much trauma that how do you help the next person with their trauma? You know what I mean? So it was just so much growing up. So when people come through, I start at the bottom. Because most people, that's where they starting at the bottom. Because they starting at the bottom, I have to identify where they pain really at. And the only way that you identify that initially is not through telling you how successful I am. It's through me telling you where I'm most vulnerable at so that we can meet each other at a safe place of vulnerability. If I never meet you at your state of vulnerability, then we're just going to be building on top of mess. So initially, I got to meet you where it's at. You know, even with Christ, when Christ was here, I keep it simple when it comes to the word. I just look at Jesus and I just look at his steps. You know, he met people at the bottom. He wasn't, hey, I'm Jesus. He met people in the slums. You hear me? So at the end of the day, I gotta meet you where my father met you at, and that's in the slums. So let's go back there. We can chill there for a minute, but and get you comfortable with the moving forward. But we gotta meet there first. And you coming through Peace for Poverty, we tackling mental health first. Because I'm not going to show you how to get no money and you still mentally drained and mentally traumatized by certain things, because when you get this money, they're going to suffice the trauma in which you've never got over. The trauma of I got to prove myself, the trauma of I made it out, the trauma of I had a child at this age. All of those are traumatic. So now you got some money and you answering to your trauma and not your solution. So we got to tackle the mental health aspect of it, because that's the vital point. And if you coming through Peace for Poverty, that's definitely what we're going to do. We're gonna meet in the mud first, then we're going to get clean.
I love that. I definitely love that. Julie?
Well, Joshua, thank you. Welcome to the show. I'm excited and have loved your testimony. I watched one of your videos earlier that was shared with us, and I want to affirm you that what you're doing, you're touching the lives of many. You know, I know sometimes it gets hard, but you know, you keep pressing and you keep pushing forward towards the mark, and your blessings will continue to flow. With that said, all right. I have so much I want to say. So yeah, don't do it, Dion. All right, so you know, with entrepreneurs, entrepreneurship, you deal already with a lot of emotions, mentally, physically, spiritually, physically, as an entrepreneur, right? You dealing with all this because you're trying to make all of these decisions, right? About what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, where the money's coming from. Am I going to eat tomorrow? Am I going to have food on the table, and all of that kind of stuff, right? But in one of your videos, Josh, you talked about, in telling your story when you were in solitary confinement, you said you had to identify the root of who you were in your situation. Can you share with our audience and our entrepreneurs who may be listening? You're thinking about entrepreneur and you got all this other stuff going on. You got to get to the root of who you are first before you can go out and build a business for somebody else to be. Can you share or elaborate on that a little bit more when you talked about the root and identifying that and coming to grips with who that was so that you can move forward? Can you talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, that was major for me, man. Solitary confinement was really, really, really major. That was the turning point for me. I started writing. I ended up coming out of solitary confinement. I ended up writing 19 self-help books. They were forms of therapy, never were meant to be books. It was just me writing my pain. It was my first time ever expressing myself in a way that, as I began to express myself, getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper of my own pain. One of those roots was being molested. That was a major root. Not having a father, that was a major root. Watching my mother struggle, that was a major root. Abuse, that was a major root. There were so many different roots that came from my life, that all my life I ran. In any situation, I've been to Chicago, Pretty Greens, Wild Hundreds, K-Town. I've played up there, you know what I mean? I ran from every place that made me tough, would make me look tough. I went to the toughest places, scared to death at the same time. Scared to death, but I went there because I was running from so much. Solitary confinement was actually my darkest moment, but the moment that saved my life. And as crazy as it sounds, as demoralizing and hurtful as it is, there weren't too many people that came out of solitary confinement with a solid mind, that didn't come out on drugs or whatever. So I started writing, and I got to the root of those pains. And through the rest of my journey in prison, I began to heal from those, because just because you identify molesting is where it went wrong, you still got to identify forgiveness. You still got to identify other pieces that come with that. So solitary confinement was the identifier, because I couldn't run. It was probably a month where I didn't move out of one spot because there were so many demonic things coming out of me that I was so scared. Another month, I couldn't even look at myself. You know, these are the reality experiences that I'm experiencing in this room alone, trying to figure out what is going on. Never experienced this in my life, because for so many years I could run to hide myself in something. You know, never thought about marriage, because to make myself know I was a man, I became a womanizer, you know, in the streets, because I'm a man, not because I want to intentionally hurt you, but because I'm a man. You don't know what I'm battling, but I'm a man, and I know I'm a man, so I'm going to do this. So not being able to hide in so many different things that even successful business people hide. You know, and that's why I wrote the book, From Prison to Spiritual Peace, because prison is just a form of restraint. I was in prison way before I physically hit it. I was in prison mentally, emotionally, spiritually, way before I hit physical. Physical was just the end product. In entrepreneurship, we build prisons every day. The prison of having to look successful, the prison of having to make it look like I made it, the pictures on Instagram to show you that my business is successful, but financially I'm struggling. The business of me still trying to feel like I made it. These are forms of restraint.
Joshua, don't make me go get the box of tissues now, okay? Stop it. Stop while
Please,
you're ahead.
please, brother, please, love, please, brother, please.
These are just the different areas in our lives that we create the prison. So that's why I can go to the Fortune 500 company and speak. And that's why I can go over here and speak, because I know you battling a prison that has nothing to do with you ever going physically like me. But me going physically is actually going to eventually help many of you in this room, because I can see some things that y'all hide. And because my life has been consistent of body language, eye contact, movement, my life for a decade was not based on how we talking. It was based on how you moved, the way you looked at me, how you walked, how you talked, your tone. I can determine what situation you're in based off that. Why? Because that was my way of life, to save my own life. Everyday world today, people don't look at that, they overlook it. I can go in the corner store and see the lady playing the gas, putting $7 in her tank, and know she hurt me. And say, you know what, sweetheart? I'm going to fill it up for you. Not because of just the physical gesture, but because I see your pain. And because I do, sometimes sometimes the as the word of God is discernment. And sometimes I'm uncomfortable with God giving me that, because it's painful when I see some people. Some of these people got millions, and I'm like, dang, you hurt me. And don't want to see it. But it's a call that you've been called to, that you got to see in a certain way and just approach it differently. So, you know, for me, the root was every one of those things, but the root was even more in me pulling it up. Identifying the root is one part, but then pulling it up, the forgiveness, the peace, facing the situation of those hurtful things, that was a process. That wasn't just something that initially happened. That, the root, yes, identifying it initially, absolutely. But as I began to pull and saw what was connected to it, I made one prayer and said, Lord, take the people out of my life who mean me no good and place the people in my life who do. I never knew that he was going to leave me alone. I never thought in a million years it would leave me for 5 years of me having no communication, with the exception of my auntie, no communication with my family. For 5 years. kind of like being buried alive. You screaming and people know you alive, but ain't nobody answering. It's just like, wait a minute, how didn't they mean me no good? And it wasn't the fact that they didn't mean me no good. I had to heal enough to know how they meant me good because I didn't know.
See, this is why we was on the phone for 2 hours, because great conversation and correlations too. Dion?
So, Josh, I want to say to you, brother, how much we appreciate you as a Black man and what you represent for us, and not to separate from any gender or race a certain way. But when Black men do a bad job, everybody knows about it. We do a good job, there's not so much paparazzi and press. And so I want to say to you, thank you for being such a wonderful, stellar Black man. We need you now like never before. We need the background too, because going forward, it's going to take a whole different kind of person, possibly. And we're going to need a little bit, we're going to have to be as wise as a serpent and gentle as a dove. You know what I mean? We're going to need all of it. And so I just want to say my kudos that way. Thank you so much, brother. You said so much. Everybody on the panel really, they know me a little bit deeper, and you have sent me into a tizzy in my mind, if I will. One of the first things I want to say before I ask you a couple questions is you just reinvented the whole term prison religion, because we can make anything a prison, because wherever the head is, the body follows. And some people in prison and don't even know it yet. And so you just redefined that to me in a broad way. I got a whole bunch of side notes on the side, and that was just an amazing statement. Something Chanel said.
Yeah,
You went very holistically, and I heard you use those words, character building through entrepreneurship. Well, that is one of the greatest incentives in the world, to build someone's character, is, you know, to say, not only are we going to just pray for you, but we're going to also pay for you, because that's going to help you be more honest, stop being a thief, stop being a whatever you are that is lacking in your character, that poverty you talk about. Jeff was pointing to, Jeff is our entrepreneurial genius on here. Josh, I want to let you know that.
Yeah.
And Jeff is as fit as he is as intellectual and everything else. Jeff is the genius. Jeff was talking, he hit on what you were talking about entrepreneurship is not just about you. You know, there's a cooperative measure that you invoke whenever you're being an entrepreneur. Listen, you can't make no money without somebody buying it. You can't build no business without selling it to somebody in whatever manner you need to, and them receiving it and then reciprocating and us having that exchange. Alethea she was talking about she whatever she said, it made me think about the passion you were talking about, you know, and that made me immediately think about the poverty mindset. The passion overcomes the poverty mindset, because we've seen it time and time again, even in the Black community, people that have gone through PTSD. I've used that as post-traumatic slavery disorder. But I want to add poverty to that. I want to put poverty in the top of that. You know what I mean? Poverty traumatic slavery disorder. You know what I mean? Because you said something else. There are these after effects of poverty. Because I've known people, Josh. I'm sure I'm a lot older than you. I've known people that have gone to the league, made a lot of money and all that, and still end up in prison. Because there's a poverty mindset, because money just makes you more of what you already are, you know. And so that effort to bring everything, the holistic and the cooperation, and then infuse it with the passion. Julie is always picking our brains, and what Julie was speaking to, how that connection to the root, it makes you grow. If I could, with no pun intended, the connection to the root makes you grow. And that growth, like you were saying, we never know the place that it's going to take us. You said it left you alone for 5 years. You know, we preach idealism all the time, but reality sometimes is different than our idealistic thing we had planned or thought it was going to work out. And even when we get into situations, we've all experienced solitary confinement some kind of way. I done been where didn't nobody want to talk to me either, for whatever reason. And I'm sure it was connected to maybe something I had done. You know what I'm saying? So,
Right.
you know what I mean? And but it makes you grow. It makes you grow, because idealism is a great goal, you know, but the practicals of reality, trying to marry them, start a business, make it successful without fronting, without trying to perform for the gram, without trying to make everybody think it's booming and it's struggling and stuff like that. So I want to just ask you just some very simple questions. What were your ages of incarceration? And I know you said you had 16 people working now. Could you give us the demographics? Are they male, female? Are all the positions filled and stuff like that? You know, Alethea has a great audience for us. You could probably get some workers from it or something like that.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, my incarceration was 22 years old. Went to prison when I was 22. I came home when I was 34. The 20 years and all of that, the beautiful of finding who you are, prom and all that, I ain't get to feel all that. You know what I mean? I didn't get to feel all that. I also knew that when I came home, I couldn't relive all that. You know what I'm saying? I think sometimes people get stuck in trying to get it back and get it back. You know what I mean? I came home, I left, my son was 3, I came home, he was 15. You know, I left, my daughter wasn't born, she was 12. You know, so when you these type of things and still have to learn this relationship, you know, I failed as a father. You feel me? I failed. I'm not afraid to say that, you know, but what the greatest part is that I got another chance. You know, every day I'm learning. Every day I'm learning from my children to earn the right to be a father. I'm their dad right now, but to earn the right to be their father is a process. It's an understanding process in dealing with them. So going to prison at the age of 22, you can see some of their struggles. My son, he's starting to open up a little more in the communication process. My daughter, it's a little tough, you know what I mean? Because a lot of that has to do with the parenting and how the feelings of that is, you know, and I have wisdom surrounding me. When I tell you I have all women around me, literally all women. My wife, my mother, my grandmother, my daughters, my aunties, everybody around me is a woman. So I don't get no passes on nothing that I say in regards to parenting. You hear me? So every time I say something, it's always, well, did you put yourself in her? And I'm like, hold on, wait a minute. I need y'all to hear me right now, okay? But at the same time, I understand it and I'm grateful for it because God placed them around me for a reason. To understand that if I come home and I get married and I left the mother of my children, even though I was wrong, emotionally that does something for them because they raised my child by themselves and now somebody is getting the victory Josh and somebody had the no good Josh. So you got to understand how they feeling, son. And I'll be like, okay, all right, they ain't jealous, it's understandable, they're emotional, you know. So it's just a lot of different things that I'm having to learn, but willing to learn. And that's the biggest thing. I'm willing to say, okay, you know what, I messed up right here. And as far as just people working for me, at this point, it's kind of packed, which is why I'm working on my business credit, which is why this is the key thing to one of the programs too, is because I realize the importance of expansion with business credit. The things that I have learned with that, I'm literally dedicating this entire year. I don't want it quick. I don't want none of that. I don't want no quick line here. I don't want none of that. I'm taking this whole year to build my business credit, because in taking that whole year, I'll be able to expand and tell more people yes, rather than I can't right now. So I'd rather help you generate your own, because if I say, I'm a solution person, if I say, hey, Josh, I need a job. Yeah, I got numerous of people who got jobs that can give you a job, but that might not be your niche. You feel me? You're taking a job as opposed to a trade or a career and something that you enjoy being able to do in the process. So in the process, the next great 50 is what I want to be able to present, to say, hey, yo, listen, we're going to fix your credit up. It's going to take us about 4 to 6 months, which is why this course is 5 months long, because the credit part is the longest part. But we're gonna get this in alignment, because in most cases, you're going to have to be the PG on anything that you do going forward, because you ain't built nothing yet. But I need to make sure that that looks okay. I need to make sure that credit file looks okay. Establishing your business and all of that is good, but we need to make sure that this is okay. So knocking on these people's doors who making $250,000 a year just doing taxes, hey man, give these people your services. They need their credit fixed. And they ain't got time to pay $5.99 and $7.99 and $6.99, because they got daycare and they got rent. And they want their credit to be fixed, but they got to pick between daycare and credit. They're going to pick daycare. So I need you to say free. That's what I need you to say right now. And after beating on their door, they finally said free. And that was the only way that they was going to be able to enter the program, was if it was for free. And as time goes on, Microsoft teamed up with me with the program. They're going to be doing the virtual, the digital part of it. And one of the biggest things that I learned from one of my mentors is that relationships, the currency of money, not money, has absolutely nothing to do with money. It has everything to do with your relationship. If I give you the money and you have absolutely no relationship to do nothing with it, then it's going to run out. And that's why the next great 50, we have the portal for it, because everybody in the program are going to become each other's network. So as I'm growing, you growing. As we growing, I'm growing. You see they building this business, this business, this business. So we're creating an atmosphere of relationship. The mental health aspect is the part that allows you to lower your guard to engage in these relationships. These relationships are going to be the vehicles to your success, not the money. When you get the money, you got to have a vehicle. If you look at any successful person, I don't care, white, black, who they are, if you look at them and you see that they're multimillionaires, look at their relationships. And that's how they're staying millionaires. Because they can call this person and say, hey, how you doing, man? I see y'all investing over there, and I see everything is going good. Hey, I got 500,000 to be able to make that call is the success. It's not the money, it's the relationship. So not currently hiring and incarcerated at the age of 22, but I'm grateful for being able to talk to you guys every time I talk. And the reason why I talk and open about everything, as an open book as I can be, because this is my therapy at the same time. Other people might look at it as a form of skill or this or that. And, you know, I've had so many people say, man, you do Toastmasters and you don't say this and you don't say this. How did you do that? Because it's authentic, bro. I lived it, man. I ain't got to rehearse it. I ain't got to do all that. I lived it. So I can speak to your situation and I can speak to mine because I lived it. And it's therapy for me. You know, it's so, none of my interviews are ever going to sound the same, because there's certain questions that generate something different. It's not rehearsed. You feel what I'm saying? It's just going. I think Ms. Brown had asked me, you know, is there? I say, nah, hey, it's an open book. Whatever you want to ask, you ask, because I need the therapy too. You know, it's therapy for me too. And I'm willing to share that with the world as long as everybody is willing to learn from it any way that I can help.
I'm looking forward to being a part of the next Great 50 program. So
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Brown. Yes, yes, yes. Yes,
I'm
yes,
looking
yes.
forward to it myself. So it's going to be great. I know it is. Anyone else have any more questions for Joshua?
I don't have any questions. I just want to say, Josh, I appreciate your story. It is very inspirational. The work that I do, the people that I deal with daily, they can identify, you know, and they need something to see that is not far off, you know. And thank you for your articulation. Yes, you could be on Toastmasters. Yes, you could. I know you're a minister. Yes, you could do so many things. And thank you for taking your time to do this with us today. It is it's inspiring, it's informative, and it's just very intellectual. It is so much you said. Can't wait to go back and review it. And so I just wanna just share that with you from my heart, and to the very organic, natural man that you've become. Thank you so much, brother. We appreciate your testimony, and thank you for the work you're doing. And we look forward to just doing as much as we can with you, with J&J and next Grade 50, Peaceful Poverty. You know, peace is not the absence of conflict. You know, that's not what peace is. Peace is being able to hold your head no matter what you got going on and all that. And thank you, brother. You were a great reminder of that tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I thank all of you guys. Julie, I tell my grandmother all the time, just in closing, I tell my grandmother all the time, she like, you're gonna be in this pulpit, you're gonna be in this pulpit. And I tell my grandmother all the time, I say, Nana, because that's what I call her, I say, Nana, there's two different types of work. There's the work of the pastor, and there's the work of that man who gotta get out there and get in the trenches. And I'm just that one that got to get out in the trenches. It's nothing against the church, or absolutely nothing against it. I was raised in it. But I also realized that you got to get out there with them, man. I think if this pandemic hasn't opened our eyes to, I don't think if this hasn't opened our eyes to it, you got to get out there too. We got to get back to what the church is, man. The church provided solutions, man. They provided solutions, man. They provided jobs. They provided this stuff because it's an family, you know. And I just think a lot of us has got away from it, man. And my grandmother she is the pillar. You hear me? The pillar of the family, you know. And we sit down and we go verse for verse, because I mean, I was literally in a wilderness for years, and I tell her all the time. I say, Nana, have you had a straight 5 years of nothing but study? Cell phone, no TV, no nothing. Has God dealt with you in that way just yet? And she tell me all the time, grandson, I know. I say, it's a difference. It's a difference when he take everything. You ain't got nothing but him to lean on. Not a business, not a dollar, not nothing. All you got is a soup and some coffee. That's it. And him. And that's it. No TV, no nothing. And the depths that he took me to, the way I see the word now, sometimes I can't even say nothing the way that I see the word of God right now.
I need to talk to you.
The way I see it and the action behind it, I just look at Christ's actions, man. When it was time to feed the people, he fed them. He didn't have to ask no committee. He didn't have to, he fed them, period. He fed them and he knew a way to feed them. And we have all of this accessible to us. And it just comes to the point of if we're gonna do it, we're gonna do the work. You know, and I'm a do the work person. So I love my grandmother. I love all of you for bringing some of the things that came out today, Ms. Brown. I loved our conversation and even how it went into the Netflix documentary that I'm shooting now of my story. But all of that, it don't mean nothing to me. It means nothing. I realized earlier, I told Ms. Brown, I said, I went to the ambassador of the Oprah Winfrey Show when I first came home. And I went all the way to LA and I thought that I thought that was it. I told my grandma, I told everybody, I said, this is it. This is what I dreamed of. This was everything I wanted. This was it. But when I went out there, I felt empty. And I'm like, why do I feel empty? I thought this was it. I'm here. But when I got in the room with those people, they weren't the light, I was. And I just saw so many people pulling from me, just pulling from me. And I'm like, why is everybody pulling from me? I don't get it. I'm supposed to be inspired by y'all, but y'all are pulling from me. And I was on the beach that night, me and my wife, we was walking in closing. Dark, heard nothing but the waves. I saw the beach. It was my first time in LA. I'm like, Lord, what did you bring me all the way out here for? Why? And he said, I brought you out here to show you how far away from you got from me. And I sat there and just cried like a baby, because even in my success, I was getting away from what he wanted me to do and how he wanted me to do it. He didn't want me to have the lights. In that moment, I shut it down. And a year later, the Netflix documentary came to me. And I'm just grateful that God has that spirit. He still is there to say, you know what? I love you enough to say, hey, you're tripping. You're doing too much. That ain't the route. And I'm just grateful for it. So thank you, Ms. Brown, Mr. Jones. I just feel you. I feel you. And I'm so grateful for that. Mr. White, I'm gonna start calling you laid back White, because I love your laid back approach, man. I love it. I love it.
We ain't done yet.
Okay,
Don't give your
okay.
act. No, don't go. No, player. You can't talk all that and then be like, okay, I'm out. Bye. No, man, it don't work that way here. All right. First off, you said a lot, as you already know, but there's something I think that we need to know this, and everyone listening. If you got a weak foundation, that success you get is going to be high-low, and people don't understand that. They get so, like you say, so big on that. I got to get the fancy house and the big car and the Instagram. What is your foundation? Where is your inner peace? If you're in turmoil, no matter what you do, it's not going to erase that turmoil. You have to be true to yourself. And a lot of people they're running from their issues. And some people are abusing their bodies in a bad way to get away. And other people think they're doing productive things. Some people are working out. They could be the most fit in the world, but something happened to them and they're trying to cope. Some people focus on their business. But at the end of the day, then they look up and like, I got all the success. Why am I not happy? Because you're not dealing with the real you. There's something going on inside of you that you have not discussed, that you haven't dealt with. And until you do, you will never achieve the true success you want. And see, you said that, but some people need to take a look back in themselves, take a look in the mirror and be like, okay, I'm trying to achieve all this and I'm still not happy. Why am I not happy? Did something happen? Am I lacking something? Do I not feel whole? Do I not feel complete? What's missing in my life? Until you figure that out, you will never be as happy as you want, and you'll never achieve the success you want. That's number one. Number two, you said you're surrounded by women. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But we brothers, we got to step up to the plate, and we got to be mentors to our young black men, our young black women, and we have to do what we have to do to uplift our communities. We can't let our women do everything for us. Like I say, no disrespect to all the women in your life. That's a wonderful thing. But damn it, brothers, can we please do what we have to do? Because if you have someone like you right now who was, say, 70 years old, who lived that life and could have talked to you and you was in your teens and 20s, like, hey, brother, I've been there. Let me come on with me. Let me help you. Let me show you the way. That's what we need to do. That's number two. Then number three, and I'm done. I'm trying to go as quick as I can. Number three, you said business relationships. My man, if we had so many brothers like you, like me, like all of us on this panel and say, hey, you know what? I see what you're doing over there. I got for $500,000. Let's build this and do this together. Do you know how big our communities would be? Do you know how amazing we would be if we could do that ourselves? So it all goes full circle. And that is the key to us uplifting our communities. We have to, first off, be true to ourselves, have that inner peace, understand there's some things going on in our lives that we need to work on. Turn off the phone. Like you said, you have 5 years. Moses went up to the mountain. It's the same thing. But a lot of people, they don't see the correlation. They just so busy. They're always on the go. Julie says she turn off her phone every night. That's genius. And people don't know how to shut it off. They're always on the go. They're always distracted from themselves. And see, we all do it, but we don't think about it. You have to take a step back and go, okay, wait a minute. Something's going on. I'm always running. Why am I running? Am I afraid to be quiet by myself? Why? I could shut off and I'm good. But not everyone can do that. But until you understand why you can't shut everything off and sit down by yourself, you will never achieve the success you want. Okay, so I tried to say as much as I could, as quick as I could, because there's so much information here. I know other people want to talk, so I just want to say that. But I salute you, my brother. I'm proud of you. Do not ever stop. Don't ever give up. And you will be so successful. You already are, but you just getting started.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Julie?
So where do I start? Yeah, you said a whole lot, Joshua. What I want to start with first is the part where you talked about your grandma, Patricia, talked about minister, when you're going to be in the pulpit. As a minister, you don't necessarily have to have a pulpit. To have that title doesn't mean you have to be behind a desk or in these four walls. What you're doing is exactly where you're supposed to be, because you're ministering to other people. You don't have to have the congregation. The world is your congregation, you know. Then you said something about, I think early on before we even started the show, you're talking about, you know, how you pour and pour and pour into other people. If you haven't done so, try to find that thing or that person that can pour back into you, because you don't want to allow yourself to get depleted and so much so that you can't continue the work that God has for you. Now, God is not going to let you get depleted anyway, because that's what he gave you. Secondly, trust the process. Someone said this to me almost about two or 3 weeks ago, when I was telling them about, you know, all the things that I had going on, and it felt like, don't know where this is coming from, don't know where that was coming from. And then she said to me, she said, but she felt the same way, but she had to get to a place where she had to trust the process. If I'm going to put my faith into what the God that I serve and everything that he says in his scripture, I can't doubt him. I got to trust his process. And when she said it was like a weight was lifted. So trust the process that God is causing you to go through right now by building other people and sharing your story and your testimony. Jeff, you said something about brothers step up. I agree. Brothers do need to step up, but there are brothers who don't know how to step up.
Exactly.
And so by you all taking your experiences and share how you did it, it may not be identical to them, but then it's saying something in their mind. Oh, that's what I need to get to B, from A to B. They don't know how, because they didn't have that example to see, but they saw it in somebody else. And then lastly, when Jeff mentioned about I turn off my phone, what I do at night and in the morning, I lay my phone down. I try not to let social media be the last thing on my brain when I go to sleep, nor when I wake up. I try to do some kind of devotion that will soothe my mind, because I don't want my subconscious, while I'm asleep, still thinking about that last thing that I saw on social media. That would be my recommendation to everybody that's listening to this session right now. Put your phone down and calm your mind before you go to sleep, so that you can have a peaceful rest and then wake up with a peace. There's so much more. They've teased me, Joshua, about having a notebook. If you can see my notes right now, but I'm going to stop right there, because I know my colleagues want to have something to say. But brother, I thank you. I appreciate you. I respect everything that you're doing today. Continue to do the work of God, that his hand is truly on your life.
It's going to be a part two. We'll talk about that, Jeff. It's going to have to be a part two.
Yeah, gotta be.
Chanel?
I was getting chill bumps just hearing your testimony, Josh. But one thing that I took from, the conversation tonight was that oftentimes we're prisoners of our past.
Yes.
Like you said, Dion, you don't have to be in jail or in prison to be a prisoner. We can be prisoners of our past, and we really have to take time to heal and grow through, not go through our pain. Like you said, Julie, we're no good to anybody. And I preach this usually to my women about, you can't pour from an empty cup, but that goes across the board. For men too, we're always giving to everybody else around us, but then we're depleted and then we're empty and we're no good to them, the people that depend on us, whether it be our children, our parents, our spouse, our businesses. So we really have to take time for ourselves. So protect your peace along the journey, I think, is something that we've learned today. But I just want to thank you, Josh, for showing us true self. I think oftentimes we don't do that. We wear the shield and we're good and we're okay when we're really not. So just taking time to heal and grow through things that we've experienced. So thank you again for joining us tonight.
Thank you, guys.
I agree. And Joshua, I thank you so much. And I just knew the panel would love you and draw from your experiences. And I trust that our listeners will too. Your journey has been magnificent. I believe there is a faith call in it. And you've proven that, I think, to everyone on this panel tonight. And so I know we'll be working with some other things together, but I think down the line, as we come up with some different other topics, we would love to have you come back and actually just let our listeners hear more about, because we really didn't get a chance to go into the next Great 50 program as much. And so hopefully we can bring you back in a few weeks or so and start talking more about that and get people informed about it and start looking forward and building who they want to be. One of the things that we focused on when we first started this podcast was planting seeds. And oh my God, you have planted a whole crop tonight. You just planted a whole crop. We trying to plant seeds, getting a little bit, a little bit of land here and a little bit of land there. No, you just did the whole crop. And so it's like now they have additional tools than what we were providing to help them along their way. And that's the epitome of what we wanted to bring with Conversations with Entrepreneur. And you sustained that completely tonight. So it's been an absolute joy and pleasure to have you on the show. I know I'll be speaking to you again soon and bring you back on the show. And it's 2020. It may have dragged out a little bit when it first came out, but it is definitely going to be a better year. And I am looking forward to the successes of everyone on this panel. And so we'll start disclosing those a little bit more. But
yeah, before you go, I just wanted to say to Joshua, this platform is about providing education and resources and all that kind of stuff from our own experiences. Well, they didn't tell me to do this, but I'm going to say it anyway. You've got two profound authors on this panel that I know that you are an author from prison to spiritual peace. I'm sure that they could probably, I'm sure there's a lot more books in you that they could probably help bring out.
I tell you what, Julie, you put it all together. You let Chanel provide the travel. Let Josh and Jeff and Alethea write the book. And I'm going to do the voiceover so we can all get paid. How about that?
Hey.
Don't this sound like the Lord?
Hey, man, I'm telling you, I'm definitely with it. I'm definitely with it. Thank you guys so much. I'm so grateful for it. Me, my wife, my mother, and my newborn, we just all had COVID. And I'm just getting over the effects of COVID and my newborn having it. But that was the biggest challenge for me when you take them to the doctor, and because they haven't had any newborns have it, they're like, there's nothing we can do. A whole nother mental emotional challenge you talk about when you're sitting there and they telling you there's nothing you can do. Again, it was just another reminder of just, you can done all you can, you just stand, you know what I mean? And that was just that situation when you do all that you can and you just stand. And it was in that moment, I'm like, Lord, what is this? It was application over information. that was the message that he gave me. It was application over information. And I think sometimes we get so hung up on information, we get so hung up on what we need to know, and so hung up on trying to gather this, and I gotta know this, and I gotta figure this out, and I gotta know this. But in that process, we haven't even applied what we were supposed to apply based on the first form of instructions that we got. But we just keep wanting to get more and more and more information. And we so far down the line in this business and that business and this, that we keep asking for God for deliverance in this area. And he's saying, if you would have applied what I gave you in 2017, then you would have already harvested in 2021, but you steady gathering information on new projects, on unfinished business. And it's just like, I was like, okay, all right. So with my books, I was just trying to, I wrote 19 of them. So I was just trying to hurry up and get them out. And he's just like, why are you rushing? Put them out in the order I gave them to you. I'm just like, wow. And it became so simple once I backtracked and applied the first book. And then now 2 books have just been picked up by major publishers. So it's just like, there's certain things that when you listen to God, when they say he a right now God, he is, if you pay attention to what you haven't applied based on the instructions he gave. And then when you go back and you apply that, it becomes a right now thing. It happens right then and there because you're following. If you look at anything that God did from Old Testament to New Testament, he always gave an instruction, and that instruction always followed application. I don't care where you read it at. I don't care from Old Testament to New Testament. When God gave a disciple something, whether it was in a dream, whether it was in a vision, whether it was Samson, I don't care who you look at, he gave them the instruction, and then they applied it. The moment they applied it, that's when the result came. And that's just what this season of my family having COVID taught me and taught us, is that just apply. Slow down and apply.
I agree. That's like, this has just been the most powerful show we've had all this past year. And this has been the most, and so Joshua, thank you so much. I can't wait for the feedback, and we'll definitely, if people hit us up on Facebook, when we go Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and IGTV, I'll definitely share any comments or questions that it may have by watching the live feed. So if no one else has any other questions, this has been another awesome show. We can't wait to have Joshua back. There's going to be a lot of offsets from this particular show tonight, I know. So with that, if everyone want to say their last thoughts, we can go ahead and start wrapping up. Josh, you want to put in your last thought? You're a guest, so we're going to let you go first. So last thoughts?
No, thank you guys, man. I don't have anything else. I thank you guys for this session. I thank you guys for the love, for the appreciation. I feel it from each one of you. I'm just truly grateful. Grateful to come across you guys, Brother Dion, Jeffrey. I would love to link with you guys after the fact. I am definitely one that is not above help from other males. Exactly as what you guys said, man, and needing that place to go. Needing to be like, yo, bro, I need to holler at you, man. You know what I mean? Those type of situations. So I'm grateful for that, man. No level of success can kind of equate to the relationship that you can build with other brothers that can help you be a better man. There was many times in my life I wasn't even at this point to be able to say that. So just saying that alone is a success for me. But thank you guys, and to the women, thank you guys so much for your charisma, for your story. Ms. Brown, talking to you for those 2 hours was amazing. It's like God sends wisdom. I mean, women are wisdom. It's all through the word, and he sends it because he knows that specifically for my life, that's what I constantly need. I'm grateful for you guys, grateful for you guys just sharing. and allowing me to speak. Thank you guys. And I love you all. Thank you.
You're welcome. Julie?
Again, thank you, Joshua, for your time. I'm full. I'm full right now. All I can say right now is my final thoughts is just trust the process.
Amen. Chanel?
I'm with Julie. This was awesome. You know, we always, every time we come together, it's always, I'm always a sponge, you know, but this has been awesome tonight. So thank you again, Joshua, for joining us. But I think last words is just show up as your true self.
Dion?
Josh, I want to say I love you black, brother. I am that guy that says I love you. And like Jeff said, if we had more guys and more men and more males that did these types of things that we're doing right now, from the heart, from our experiences, and not jockeying for positions or anything like that, and just knowing how to cooperate and how to exchange and work together, we would do more, because relationship is kingdom currency, brother. It's not what you know, it's who you know. It is. And that is all the way to God. You know what I mean? It's not what you know, it's who you know. Thank you so much for being transparent, brother. And you are a great man. You are a great father. You are a great leader in our community. And I'm so glad that we're probably going to adopt you. And so yeah, ain't no getting away now, brother. You know what I mean? So don't give me your number. I'm that guy, you know.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. Appreciate you, brother, for sure.
Fan for life. Jeff?
Only thing I want to add is, like I said, this has been an excellent show. What I really like about it more than anything is the realness. A lot of people, they want to put out that image that they're so perfect and they don't make any mistakes and their life has been beautiful, but in reality, their life is a hot mess, and they're afraid to let that side of them show. But to be honest, we all have our issues. We all have our faults. We all have our demons. Don't be afraid. I think the more people who talk about these things, the better off they would be. We all have our insecurities, and it's okay. Don't let those insecurities hold you back. Let those insecurities propel you to greatness. But don't be afraid to be your true self, because when you put out that false image, it's all gonna come crumbling down. And once you can accept who you really are as a person, and not be afraid to look people and be like, yeah, that was me. Yes, that was me. That I did that. And you know what? I've grown from it. I learned from it, and I don't run from my past. And I'm not going to, sugarcoat it and try to pretend I'm something I'm not. You either accept me for who I am, or you don't, and that's it. And you can accept me, or you can keep it moving. Once you can get to that point, there's nothing that can hold you back. And so that's what I really got from this, because after hearing your story, I got more respect from you, because you told us your story. We didn't have to hear it from someone else and you denied him, like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. When someone puts it out there themselves, it's liberating.
Mm-hmm.
And then everyone is like, okay, this is what I'm dealing with. Now they are on your terms, and they got to deal with you, the real you. And that's a wonderful thing. And if more people did that, we would be better off as a community, as a society, and as a world.
I agree. So Joshua, it's been an absolute joy and a pleasure for you to be on our podcast tonight. And I think the biggest takeaway is just, if you're on a journey, whatever that journey is, doesn't necessarily have to be entrepreneurship, but just in your life, know yourself, be real with yourself, and be conscious of the company that you keep. That's the big thing. Birds of a feather, what they say, they will flock together. If the birds are flying to the right and you want to go left, then maybe that's the way you need to go. When the wind blows, it's just, you have to get up and you find that path and you find the right people, and they're put in your path. We've had this conversation before. God puts people in your path for a certain reason. If you're on that right path, someone is going to pop up down there to keep you from going to the wrong path. You just need to listen and pay attention, because that's what he does, right? And so this is what we all spoke of tonight, is finding yourself, know your path, believe in yourself. You don't have to get approval from everyone. If I had to depend on that, I would never wrote a book. If I had to depend on that, I would never written a screenplay. You know, my cousins teased me from 1988, kept calling me Mini Spike Lee. I ain't Mini Spike Lee, I'm me. You know, but those little different things, depending on your mindset, can make you sit back and say, well, maybe I shouldn't do it. And that's not necessarily what you should be doing. Don't let someone discourage you from your dream. It's your dream. And it's up to you to believe in the reality of making it. And I think that's the biggest takeaway that we can bring you tonight, is believe in yourself, believe in your dreams, and you walk in your faith. You know, everyone has a different mindset of that, but you walk in your faith. You know, so with that, thank everyone for being here tonight. Love you guys. Welcome to the club, Joshua.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Dion will text you. Good night, everybody.
Absolutely. All right. See y'all later. Love y'all.